So we have seen that electromagnetic waves propagate through vacuum from the speed of light. So speed of electromagnetic wave is equal to the speed of light, and these are self-sustaining vibrations. So electric field gives rise to magnetic field, and magnetic field gives rise to electric field, and these vibrations or these electromagnetic waves don't need any medium to travel. But old scientists were so habitual of old idea of this medium for the waves that they said there is some medium in the vacuum, even in the vacuum, which they called ether. But later the experiment by Michelson and Morley showed that there is no ether, and vacuum is pure vacuum, there is nothing else other than vacuum. So ultimately everybody has to accept that these electromagnetic waves travel through space without any medium. But what if a material medium is actually there? So now we know what is the effect of vacuum. So we know that these waves travel with the speed of light in vacuum. But if we put some water, suppose they are coming from vacuum, so this is our vacuum, and we put some water in path of these electromagnetic waves, then what will happen? Suppose light is coming and we can easily put light in the path of these waves, or we can put water in front of electromagnetic waves or radio waves. Then what will happen? We know that light is also an electromagnetic wave, does propagate through glass, for example. So light can propagate through glass, water, else, and everything else. We have seen earlier that the total electric and magnetic fields inside the medium are described in terms of permittivity epsilon and magnetic permeability mu. These describes the factor by which the total fields differ from the external field. So what they are trying to say, in vacuum we have constants epsilon 0 and mu 0, but in any medium this epsilon 0 changes to epsilon, and this mu 0 changes to mu, or we can simply say this is epsilon r, this is mu r. So this is for the medium. So where epsilon is nothing but relative permittivity of the medium into epsilon naught, and mu is mu r into mu naught. So this is the thing that changes in the medium. This replaces the epsilon naught and mu naught in the description of the electric and magnetic fields in Maxwell's equation, with the result that in a material medium of permittivity epsilon and magnetic permeability mu, the velocity of light becomes. So what we have done, so previously we have velocity of light 1 upon under root this epsilon 0 and mu 0. Now instead of this epsilon mu 0 we have put this epsilon and mu. So our new form is V is equal to under root mu epsilon. This is mu epsilon. Since we know that this mu will always be greater than mu 0, and this epsilon will always be greater than epsilon 0. So this factor will always be larger than 1. This factor will always be larger than this factor. Hence what we know, we can say this factor epsilon naught is always smaller than this factor mu epsilon. So this is always larger than the in vacuum. Since this factor is larger, this velocity is always less than c. So in this way we can say velocity in any medium is always smaller than velocity of light in vacuum. So what did we see? We see that the constant epsilon naught and mu naught were replaced by material constant epsilon and mu. In medium this is V is equal to 1 upon under root mu epsilon, and this V is definitely less than C, because these values must be greater than mu 0 epsilon 0. Thus the velocity of light depend on the electric and magnetic properties of the medium. So now as we change the electric and magnetic property of the medium, so the velocity of the light or any electromagnetic wave will change. We shall see in the next chapter that the refractive index, there will come a term refractive index of one medium with respect to another is equal to the ratio of velocity of lights in two media. So what we will see, suppose there is one medium n1, so refractive index for first medium is n1, for second medium it is n2. Now let us say this second medium is vacuum. So velocity of light in those mediums must be equal to this ratio. So here the velocity is v1, here it is v2. So if this n2 is vacuum, this v2 must be equal to c, velocity of light in vacuum. In all the cases, velocity of the light or any electromagnetic wave will reduce in any kind of medium. The velocity of electromagnetic waves in free space or vacuum is an important fundamental constant. So this is very important and fundamental constant, velocity of light. It has been shown by experiments on electromagnetic waves of different wavelengths that this velocity is the same to within a few meters per second. So what we have seen, even for different type of electromagnetic waves, this velocity is almost the same within a few meter. So if you are considering this number 3 into 10 to power 8, so if you add few meters, that means 4 or 5 meter, or you reduce 4 or 5 meter, that will not change this number by much. So this is speed of different type of electromagnetic waves in vacuum. The constancy of the velocity of electromagnetic waves, now we are saying EM waves, electromagnetic waves in the vacuum, is so strongly supported by the experiment, and the actual value is so well known that this is used to define the standard of length. So now modern definition of length, that is meter, is now also given in terms of these speed of electromagnetic waves. So how do we define this meter? The meter is now defined as the distance traveled by light in vacuum in time 1 by c second. So this is called 1 meter. So what is this time? 2.99792,458 into 10 to power 8 to the power minus 1. That means 2.99792,458 into 10 to power minus 10 to power 8 part of 1 second. So light travel 1 meter distance in this much time. Why we have defined this meter in terms of speed of light and second? Because second is highly precisely measured and this is also very precise. So that's why we are measuring meter in terms of speed of light. This has come about for the following reason. The basic unit of time can be defined very accurately in terms of some atomic frequency. Why we are using meter in terms of second and this speed of light? Because the time can be very accurately measured using the atomic clocks. That is frequency of the light emitted by an atom in a particular process. So if you go back to class 11th and if you study the fundamental units, so you will learn again that atomic clocks are highly accurate. So atomic clocks are highly accurate because that is the vibration associated with that atomic clocks does not change very significantly. That's why there is only 1 second difference in 10 lakh years. So in 10 lakh years there is only 1 second difference in an atomic clock. So time is very precisely measured. Speed of light is a fundamental constant. That's why we define meter in terms of speed of light and second, not reverse. So the basic unit of length is harder to define as accurately in direct way. So directly we cannot define as precise. Earlier measurements of c using earlier units of lengths, meter, rods, etc. converge to a value of about this. Since c is such a strongly fixed number, unit of length can be defined in terms of c and unit of time. So previous experiments showed that speed of light is this much, 2.99799246, so which is very similar to this. So this last number is approximated as 6. So this was very closely related. This was so closely related that we now define meter in terms of light rather than defining light in terms of meter. Why? Because time can be very accurately measured, as well as speed of light is a fundamental constant and does not change. Hertz not only showed the existence of electromagnetic waves but also demonstrated that the waves which had wavelength 10 millionth times of the light waves could be diffracted, refracted and polarized. So these are property of the waves. What are property? Diffraction, refraction and polarization. So Hertz, what he did, he showed that the waves which has 10 millionth times wavelength, 10 million times is smaller than that of the light waves. So definitely the wavelength is quite smaller. Those waves could be diffracted, refracted and polarized. Thus he conclusively established the wave nature of the radiation. So what we learn about these experiments, there is wave nature of radiation. Further, he produced stationary electromagnetic waves and determined their wavelength by measuring the distance between two successive nodes. So we know what is the distance between two nodes. The distance between two nodes is lambda by 2. Since the frequency of the wave was known, being equal to the frequency of the oscillator, he obtained the speed of the wave using the formula V is equal to mu lambda and found the waves traveled with the same speed as the speed of light. So Hertz in his experiments found that any electromagnetic wave is traveling with the speed of light, and there are properties of diffraction, refraction and polarization associated with light which was found with all the electromagnetic waves. Hence he confirmed the wave nature of the radiation. This we will study in detail later.